This is a famous story, friends. It's a very useful story. Many times, but actually not with this detail, so it's news to me, the plot. The Alter Rebbe, so the beginning of his Rabbonis, he was the Rav in the Yozhitz, later in the Adi, but first in the Yozhitz. So when the Chassidim start to grow in number, so he said to the leaders of the Parnasei Kehila, the ones that the town leaders, they should take a Rav and murder a and he should answer all the questions. His pasha didn't have the time to answer the questions in halacha because of the great number of chassidim. But there were two subjects he said he would still paskin, and that is questions on a lung, kashrus of a lung with animal, and shalis noshim, questions of nida, not tied into the minor. So once it happened, one winter night, the butcher from the city comes, and he brings with him a lung. There was a shayla. Now, the outside room, before the Alter Rebbe's room, there was a table prepared that people would bring the lungs. The Alter Rebbe would inspect it. The Alter Rebbe came out and looked at the lung. You know the story to me. And after some time, he went back to his room. He took out a number of sforim, and he puts them on the table and starts to look into them. So the butcher sees a very complicated question. And so he goes to the corner of the room to rest a bit, and he fell asleep for a few hours. It's winter night. Meanwhile, he wakes up, and the Alter Rebbe is going back and forth and looking at the lung, and he goes back to the room of the Sfodim. When he wakes up, he sees that the time has passed, and it's already midnight. He goes to the Alter Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, he says, it doesn't matter, so I'll lose the money, or I'll sell it to the non-Jewish butcher. The Rebbe's time is much more precious to me than the cost of losing the cost of the kosher. And said the Alter Rebbe to him, there was a story, famous answer. The Alter Rebbe said to him, if you would hear how the lung is pleading to me, it should be kosher, you wouldn't say this. The Alter Rebbe continued until he found it was kosher. So this brings out the nekuda of the whole point is the nitzutzik dusha, to elevate everything, and that the Alter Rebbe, of course, heard and felt this nitzutz kedusha that's crying out that wants to end up on the Shabbos table as a chant. So if you were to hear that, you would understand why all this labor to make the animal kosher. It's a very broad idea. Of course, the idea that everything we engage is all for the purpose of elevating the nitzutz kedusha as far as. Have a wonderful day, everybody. See you all tomorrow.